Welcome everybody to a new analysis of Tradomics focus on 4 high-tech stocks. If you haven't done it yet, please subscribe to our channel in order to be notified as soon as possible about our latest analysis so you can be aware about your favorite stocks, whether statistically the price can go either to the uptrend or downtrend by using our methodology, which is the T-cycle analysis. So after the earnings released, and we have done an analysis ahead of the earning release called the Magnificent Seventh. Here we have the results of what has happened. So on Microsoft, we were expecting a downtrend because we were about to close this first T plus 3 cycle, which found its lows at, on the 5th of August at $385.58. The total duration of this T plus 3 has been of 69 days out of maximum 89. But if we gauge the total duration of this T plus 2, we have reached 44 days, which is basically the maximum duration of a monthly cycle. Therefore, here from this low, and this low is lower compared to the low from which this potential T plus 4 has started at $387.33. Here we have 385, so a couple of dollars less. We are expecting a bounce back to the upside because we are waiting to have the beginning of a new downward cycle that can be T plus 1 or T plus 2 or T plus 3. At the moment, this is a T plus 1 because we have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bars over its low. So 5 bars, it's basically a T minus 1 duration, and therefore it's 2 degrees less compared to the main cycle. And here we have a T plus 1. We are expecting not just to have a T plus 1, but something more. So at least a T plus 2 or eventually a T plus 3. But now it's critical to gauge the strength of this bounce back to the upside. Why that? Because first of all, this potentially T plus 4 has turned into a negative cycle. Therefore, given that we have reached a total duration of 69 days now, given that this low is lower compared to this one, we can extend the further downtrend until its minimum duration, which is 94 days. So here we have to be careful because we have the possibility to update or keep the trend to the downside until minimum or at least the 9th of September 2024. And this is aligned to the fact that if here we have so here we have the starting of a new cycle depending on the days that will be over this level of price. We will define whether this is a T plus 1 or a 2 or a 3 or something else. But at a certain point in time we will see also a retracement. This retracement will be in line with the closing of what? The closing of an upward cycle. So here we will have a shape of this kind because now we have reached a total duration of 26 days. So we are basically in the first T plus 2. But once we will have a hook back to the upside, then we will start having a retracement. This hook will be signed by when? So if we calculate the upward cycle or the weekly upward cycle, we have the first weekly upward cycle, the second one, and now we are on the third one. This third one has reached a total duration of 6 days, which is really the minimum duration of a weekly upward cycle. So from Monday onwards, we can already have a retracement. But if we calculate a median duration, then we have to calculate 8 days. So 8 days means that by Monday we can have another absolute top, and from Tuesday onwards we can have a retracement. Otherwise, if they wanted to actually um, prolong the duration of this weekly upward cycle, we can also reach 11 days, which will be on the 15th of August. So basically here from Tuesday, let's say Tuesday onwards, we will have um, quite a good probability to close the weekly upward cycle, or statistically, the main probability, because it's a median duration from Tuesday onwards next week, to have the closing of a weekly upward cycle and then a retracement. This retracement needs to be also monitored, because if we go back to this low and we break this low, as said before, we will have the possibility to keep falling at least until the first week of September. So that will be the minimum duration of this T+4. But we know that also for a median duration of this T+4, we can have even more. So basically, you have to be aware that now this T+4 can also stretch its duration until its median duration, which is around 130 bars, so until November or even onwards. And also here we have the other flip of the coin, in which it's of course a T+3, but it might be also a T+5, because this level of price of this upward cycle broke this swing. And now here we have the evidence that a big or a wider cycle is ongoing. So therefore, we cannot go back to this top before 48 days at least, which is a duration which is 11th of September. So we cannot go back to this top before the 11th of September at least. But generally speaking, when there is a T+5 ongoing, we have to calculate at least a median duration of a T+4, so roughly around 90 or 100 days, in order to have this shape in development. Therefore, that would be around the 15th of November in the best case scenario, if the T+5 will have this shape. Otherwise, the T+5 can also prolong its duration to the downside, have a bounce back to the upside, and then further down. So now the situation is a little bit to be monitored. As said, we are expecting to have another 2 or 3 days to the upside, but then let's be aware that there will be a retracement starting from the mid of next week, and this low has to be carefully monitored. Okay. Of course, in the best case scenario, we can have also a T+2 upward cycle that can stretch its duration until 30 to 40 days. So we can have a sustained bounce back to the upside until the uh, mid or even end of August. So that's the situation so far. What we can say, this is the most probable shape that we're gonna encounter in the next week, and this is all for the for Microsoft. So let's jump to the next one. On Amazon, if you recall from the latest videos, I was flagging the possibility here to have potentially a bear tongue, and from the absolute top to have a beginning of something that can be defined as a T+5 or even a T+6. T+6 is a B-yearly cycle, and therefore, given that is a really wide cycle, we need a lot of days to the downside to develop its shape. And a lot of days means that we need 2 degrees less. So basically, a duration which is a T+4 between 94 168 days to the downside, or to have candles 94 to 168 candles that cannot be higher compared to the stop. And this is explained by the fact that if we zoom out, we have had from this stop the beginning of a yearly upward cycle that has done the first T+5 and the second T+5. Now, the total duration of the second T+5 cannot stretch until 358 days. So here we have had 299 days, and here this one is potentially a bear tongue. So I update the chart as following. So the analysis correct. I was also flagging some months ago the possibility that on Amazon there was really a stretched time in which there might be reversal turning point. Now here I put T+5 bear tongue. I always put also a question mark because this is something that has to be verified in the next months, given that here we need different days below its absolute top. And here, of course, we have the beginning of something as a T+5 like this. Of course, also in this case, I put a question mark because we need some other days below to its top. At the moment, we have reached a total duration of 25 days. So even in this case, as for Microsoft, this low was lower compared to this one. So here we have a probability to have a T+4, which is turned into negative. The total duration of this monthly downward cycle has been 44 as for Microsoft. So here from this low we are expecting another T+2 or T+3. So we're gonna have a bounce back to the upside to also close this upward T+2, which has reached now a duration of 25 days. So we can extend until its median duration, 30 days until 16th of August, or even 44 days, which will be the maximum duration until 6th of September. But given that here we have evidence to have a T+4, which is negative after this bounce back to the upside, please be aware that we're going to have a retracement, and this retracement should end its shape lower to this point, because here we can have a T+4 plus another T+2 or T+3, but then we will close lower to this point, so lower to $151 and lower to this swing, of course, $166. So this will allow to begin the T+5 or T+6. So we need different days below this point. So this is the shape that potentially we will have by in the next weeks or even months. And also this shape will allow first to develop the T+5 here, and also to close the yearly downward cycle, but for the time being has reached a duration of 198 bars. So we have definitely a lot of time to close even this T+5 downward cycle. But thanks to this methodology that you cannot see on the other channels, here you know how long you can expect the bounce back to the upside, and you already know, and this is really an advantage, that after this bounce back to the upside, we have a lot of probabilities to go back below this low, at $151 because we need to complete the T+4. The T+4 downward cycle, which is negative, has not reached its minimal duration for its completion because it's 69 days and its minimum duration is 94 days. Therefore, we might have a T+2 or T+3 that at certain point will return back to the lows and even below it. So be aware of the situation that we have on Amazon as well. Let's move to the next one. On Apple compared to Microsoft and Amazon, we have a slightly different situation. The situation is different because from this top on the 14th of December 2023, we have had the beginning of a T+5 upward cycle, and from this low on the 19th of April 2024, we have had the beginning of the T+5 downward cycle. So now basically, as we were saying in the last video, we were expecting this um, this downtrend because we could have closed what? We could have closed a cycle that is basically a T+3. So here we had 73 bars from this low, and now we are expecting a new T+3 or a T+4, and that's why the bounce back to the upside is consistent. But it's also consistent because of the upward cycles that I will describe in a minute. So analysis correct. So here we have had exactly this move. Now here we have a T+3. And we also filled out the gap down that we have had the day after the earning release. We from this top we were expecting also to have a T+1 or T+2 to continue the rally on the upside, and actually we have had a duration of 21 bars. So here we had the evidence of a T+1 upward cycle. And now if we gauge the total duration from the T+5, we have 144 bars. So basically on Apple, here we have the beginning of a T+4 upward cycle. So we have at the beginning of this T+4 upward cycle like this, but here we are also having another pushback to the upside for the T+3. Now, if we consider that the T+5 here is turned into positive because with this moves, especially with this candle, we broke up its top from which it started, we can expect to proceed to the upside for the rally until the minimum duration of a T+5, which is 190 days. So basically here, considering that we have a different situation from the upward cycles, after a bounce back to the upside, of course, there will be then a retracement for the beginning of another T+2 upward cycle, but then we expect to basically return back to the absolute tops, because here we have to close a T+5 and its duration will be 190 to 338 days. So within 338 days, which will be by 2025, we are expecting to go back to the absolute tops. Now the T+4 upward cycle is basically ongoing, and as for the other stocks, we have reached a total duration of um, we have reached here a duration of 20 bars. So basically here we have still time to proceed back to the upside and to close a T+2. So this T+2, the minimum days for the T+2 will be 24 bars, so we can continue to to rise the level of prices until 15th of August. That will this will be the safe zone, but of course we can also prolong its duration until September. So here we are expecting basically more days to the upside before having this retracement to begin basically a second T+2. And here we will have also to watch carefully whether they will have time to begin a T+2 or even a T+1, because we will need to monitor the volume. So if they will return back to the tops, absolute tops, after the development on a T+1 or a T+2, then we will have more time to basically return back to the absolute tops. And here you have really a great advantage over the other analysts, because you already know that we will be going back to the tops, because we have this situation and because we can calculate time. And because you know that here we are starting having a push back to the upside for a new T+3. And because here you know that that we have a new yearly downward cycle that has to push back to the upside for several days. And several days means a degree of 2 degrees less, so a T+3. Okay, so that's basically the situation on Apple. So it's definitely more positive compared to Microsoft and Amazon, at least for long positions. Let's jump to Meta, which is the final one. The situation on Meta is neither similar to Microsoft and Amazon nor to Apple, because on Meta we have at the beginning of the T+5 here. And if we gauge the total duration, now we have reached 260 days. But here, as for the latest analysis that we issued, here we have the T+3 or T+4. But we cannot have the beginning of a new T+5 because the duration 174 days is definitely shorter compared 190 days. So basically here we have another structure that either as this one, so therefore here we have the new T+5, but given that we are we are having this strong bounce back to the upside, and we're really close to this swing, either we will not reach this swing, and then therefore we will have a cycle like this and we will start retracing, and therefore here we will have a T+5. Otherwise, after this the completion of this T+3, which we were expecting from the latest analysis, we will have a return back to the upside. So let me rephrase it differently and in a more understandable way. So analysis correct here. We have had the first T+2 and the second T+2, and now here we are expecting a T+3, or at least a T+2, T+3. This beginning of this downward cycle has pushed the price at $518, and the top here is $542. The total duration of this upward cycle in shape is 25 days. So basically here we are about to complete this T+2. We have from this top the beginning of a weekly upward cycle, and gauging the total duration, we have 6 days. So as for Microsoft and and Amazon, here we have room to proceed further back to the upside. So for the beginning of next week until mid of next week. But if this push will also break the stop, then we will have more time to proceed to the rally. Even if at a certain point in time, you have to be aware that to this stop, we have 237 days. Now we have 261 days. And then we will need to see whether how many days the price will take in order to go back to the stop and eventually break it up. Because by having this situation, we will also be able to gauge the total duration of this T plus 3 and T plus 4, because now here we have 87 days. So if we go back to the stop and we break it up, then this will be a T plus 4, then this will be a T plus 3 confirmed, and then we will have the possibility really to calculate how many days we can proceed further to the upside. At the moment, we cannot say that whether the price on Monday or Tuesday or even for the rest of the week will breach this level. But of course, these are important points. So for $527 and even more important, $542 are the key level of prices to allow us to calculate for how many days we can proceed the rally to the upside. But of course, here we also have this push from the T plus 2, T plus 3. So we have a high likelihood to return back to the stops, because compared to, for example, Microsoft or Amazon, we haven't had such push. Um, Such pushback to the downside, and therefore that's why here I put a T plus 3 and not even a T plus 5. And this pushback to the downside has reached this key level. So this level of price has been broken, but not this one. If we go back to the to Amazon, just to for a matter of comparison, this one has been critically broken. So you see that now here we have a negative T plus 4. But if we go back to Meta, here we have not definitely the same situation, because this low is higher compared to this low. Therefore, the push here is definitely lower. Therefore, the upward cycle is not a T plus 5, but in this case, so far is a T plus 3. And also because we have this situation, then here we have really high likelihood to go back to $542 and even more. So as you can see here, despite we have stocks that are in the listed on the Nasdaq, and they can be grouped as ITEX, we have different situations. Depending on which kind of company we are analyzing. So I hope this video has given you insightful information. I remind you that if you wanted to subscribe to have the latest news on time and be aware of what is going to happen to the price in the next weeks, then uh, feel free to subscribe. Also because it's important for you to manage the position. If you look the analysis or watch the videos after 3 or 4 days, it might be already late, because time matters in trading and investment. And if you have comments, or if you want to uh, know more about the setup of these talks, please feel free to comment and put a like. Thank you. Thanks for watching, and see you to the next episode.